Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things here.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
All right, well, let's just jump right in to episode 161. My name's Tim Nestor, here with Derek Teague, and Eli, of course, as our unwitting co-host.
Say hi, Eli.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Who's Mark? That was like random.
He's quoting that from The Room. Oh, hi, Mark.
Who's Mark?
It's your butt.
Okay, Mark's my butt. Apparently.
No, he's quoting that from The Room. He probably heard that from someone else, but yeah, that's from that classic horrible movie that then they turned into a James Franco movie called The Director, I think, or something like that.
Oh, I never even heard of it.
Anyway, yeah, really, really bad movie.
Yeah, so he's here, and then Emily's in the back room. Who knows if she'll come out?
Smoking. I got you.
Yeah.
Smoking her cigar.
She probably won't because she's mad at me, but I don't care.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, we've got kids' bedtime coming up in about 30 or 40 minutes, so we'll see if we can actually squeeze in the whole episode or if we have to pause halfway through.
Well, if we just focus the whole episode on Sekiro, we could probably make it a short episode.
Yeah, so Sekiro just came out this past Friday. We're recording this on Sunday the 24th, and I think both of us have put in a good amount of time over the weekend playing this game from Software.
Yeah.
Of course, most famous for the Dark Souls games, Bloodborne. I know they've made other games too, but those are their kind of bread and butter that everyone knows them for making. So honestly, when Sekiro was announced, I just kind of felt like, I'll wait and see. Maybe I'll get it when it's free or something. But
yeah.
The more I actually did watch a preview on it, and I was like, this looks pretty sweet. Like in case those of you who are curious, it's set in the feudal Japan, samurai and ninja kind of era, and you're a shinobi warrior, and the setting is just so cool, and I love that kind of ancient Japan setting. It looks really great, and so I was intrigued, and I decided to jump right in. Everyone else was talking about it, and I saw the overall reviews seemed pretty positive. So I decided to give it a try, and I can't stop playing this game. I absolutely can't stop playing it. So my overall take on it is very positive, but wanted to get our resident Dark Souls expert take on it too. So Derek, let's just jump right into it, man. What about this game is good? What's bad? What's in between? All that kind of stuff. So tell me what you think about Sekiro so far.
Yeah, so I'll start off with my beginning feelings, like before the game released, when the game released, and then where I'm at right now. Before the game released, obviously I'm a big Dark Souls Bloodborne fan. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've been a fan since the beginning. I played Demon Souls not when it first came out, but when I heard it was like people were talking about it, so I gave it a try, and I was like, nope, this is trash. Like, I just thought it was trash. And then I bought Dark Souls on day one, died like right away. I was like, it came out the same day as Mortal Kombat 9, so it was going to lose to that anyway. So once I couldn't get into it, I just moved on to Mortal Kombat 9. But anyways, my point is I'm not like the biggest fan. Like, I didn't beat all the Dark Souls games. I've only beat Dark Souls 3 a couple of times. I've beat Bloodborne like 4 times, and I've gotten...
You're up to 4 times on that one, huh?
Yeah, I just kept beating it. And
Did you platinum that game? Are you a platinum trophy hunter?
No, I'm not, but I did platinum Bloodborne. Me and Moose and a couple of other people for a while just kept playing it together, and we ended up Moose ended up helping me get the platinum, because the reason I don't get a lot of platinums is because I don't like to do research on what I need to do. Like, right. I just get the trophies that just come naturally. I don't like to sit here and research what I have to do. And in that game, you definitely have to do certain things that it's like, okay, this is stupid, but I'll
and I feel like huge games like that typically have some sort of, if not more than one, at least one trophy that's just an insane amount of grinding and collecting stuff, or who knows.
Yeah. But anyway, so I love the games now, but it's because I'm more recent. I'm not a big fan. Even Dark Souls Remaster came out. I played maybe like 2 or 3 hours of it. And I'm like, I don't understand why, but for some reason, even though remastered plays like Dark Souls 3, it feels good. I just don't care to play the older Souls games. So anyways, my hype level for this game is not as high as I really thought it was going to be when I first heard about it. And the reason why is because obviously the past year I've been talking about a lot of the personal issues, but also like the changes in me. I don't have a lot of patience. Like my patience for gaming has gotten even worse. So like if I die, and I've talked about this on the show a lot, like if I die and I'm like, nope, I'm done. And I just quit a game. Like I don't even give it a chance. I just like, I'm done. And I might come back to it. And if I die again, all right, I'm done. And so this is not the type of game you play if that's how you play video games now. Like, I died, I'm done. Like, you're not going to get anywhere because you're going to die every 30 seconds. So I really did. Chances
are pretty good, unless you're really familiar with these games, then you might even die on the very first little enemy that you face.
Yeah, if you're new to the game, you're going to die right away. But I will say this. This game is even, to me, more scary than Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 because as soon as they announced, hey, there's no co-op, I was like, what if I get stuck? Like, I've beat all the main bosses in Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne solo. Like, I made sure I did that. But if I got stuck on something, I would call co-op, and then I would go back, and maybe on my second playthrough or third playthrough, I would solo the boss. So I was like, I don't even know if I can beat this game. Like, who knows? Like, I'm pretty good at these games once I learn the systems, but I was a little like, I just don't think I'm going to have the patience for it. And I can't even ask for help if I don't have the patience for it. Yeah. So going into it, I was hyped because I thought it looked cool, and I do absolutely adore Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne. They're two of my favorite from this generation. But at the same time, where I'm at now, I didn't know how it was going to be. So going into that, I know it was a long story, but that's how I work. Going into that, I booted it up, started the game, and the first few people you fight, if you've played Bloodborne, you're good. You should, even though you're learning a new system, and the system's totally different, and I'll get into that, or you can later. But essentially, the first enemies that you meet, you can just be aggressive and just attack them, and they'll die.
Right. Although so if you're smart, you're following the prompts. It's trying to teach you how to counter and how to time the parries, which become very, very, very important on the tougher enemies.
So, which is cannot parry, by the way.
Which is another thing I wanted to point out. I feel like in this game, I've gotten more tutorial type information than I'd gotten from any of these other games before. I just feel like they're giving me more. Here's how to do this thing.
I think so. I think they're trying to appeal to more people, but I also think taking that whole online co-op thing away kind of puts gamers at a disadvantage. And let me say right off the bat, they needed to disable co-op in this game because this is not your typical Bloodborne Dark Souls game, which I know you and I are going to hit on. And what I mean by that is this would be a dumb game to co-op like a boss with, because you can for some of these bosses, like at least the mini bosses, you can stealth. Not kill them, but you can stealth them where you can
50%. They're down 50% health essentially right out of the gate.
Exactly. So if I'm playing with somebody and I stealth half him, then it will take us like 2 seconds to kill him. So I get why they would go, hey, in order to make this game a stealth but still a Souls type game, we're gonna have to disable co-op because it would make the game stupid. It would make it completely dumb. And so I do like the decision. And that being said, the game is completely different, even though it still has a lot of the same systems in place. And I do find that I try to stealth as best I can. Even with like mini bosses, the mini bosses, I always try to look for a way to stealth them first, so I can get that 50% discount off their life. Like, that's what I want to do. I was like, I don't want to sit here and fight you for an hour and a half, because here's another big difference between Dark Souls and definitely between Bloodborne. Dark Souls, you get this a little bit more in Dark Souls than you did in Bloodborne. But a lot of your strikes don't land. Like they deflect and they parry you, they block you a ton. So getting a strike in is very difficult, and that's kind of the new system. Is you're trying to knock them off their posture. You're not trying to knock their posture off, and so you can play aggressive. I want to say this. I do like that they don't regain their posture real fast. Like it generally goes pretty slow.
It's almost like, so here's how I would describe it. If you've ever played these games before, you know that stamina is typically a really key component to your combat.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in a game like Ashen, which is kind of like Dark Souls Light, even then stamina is the most key component you have to gauge. In this game, there is no stamina. You don't have a stamina meter. You can keep hitting the attack button if you want to. Of course, I don't recommend it because the enemies are smart and they can deflect and they can quickly attack you between swings. But instead, everyone has a posture meter, which is kind of this bar that fills up from the middle to the outside, and it kind of gets brighter and brighter yellow. And then once you break the posture all the way, they are now susceptible to a death blow, which if it's a normal enemy, instant kill. If it's a boss, you can take off one of 2 orbs. To kill a boss, you have to get rid of 2 of their death blow orbs, and then they're gone. And so what Derek's talking about with posture is essentially, it's almost like breaking a shield. Like if you were playing any other game, they might have a shield and then health. It can be kind of like breaking through that, and then it will start to regenerate over time. It's got a little bit of that vibe to it. And of course, certain moves and certain specials and certain things you do in the environment, you can break posture pretty quickly if you're good. Otherwise, you just got to keep hacking away at them. And as you hit them, their health does go down, just not very quickly. And once their posture's gone, then you can really take a swing at their health. So it's a system that takes a little bit of getting used to. You also have to watch your own posture. As you get hit and as you block, your posture starts to get uneasy and uneven. So you always have to watch that as well. But yeah, that's kind of the way the combat system works. Again, lots of blocking, and if you got to time your block. By the way, the parry window of time is so small. I would say I miss it way more often than I successfully parry, and I don't know. There's no
don't even try.
There's no like, you know how in a lot of games they'll have like a little shimmer or a sound or something right before it lands, like in Batman or something like that, where it becomes very easy to counter. The timing of that window of time is very generous. In this game, it is super brief, where you've got this time to hit block, and if you miss it, they're going to hit you. And if you go too early, you'll just do a regular block, and your posture will take that damage. So yeah, they give you the ability to parry, but it's just very, very difficult. But of course, there's dodge and jump. There's a number of things you can do. I actually, fairly early on, I unlocked a parry move for guys who try to lunge at you with their spear or their sword. And then you can kind of jump up and stomp down on their blade and really do damage to their posture, quite a bit of damage to their posture, which is awesome. That's how I beat one of the mini bosses as a cleric dude with a pike axe kind of weapon. The only way I could beat him was to parry his spear lunges. So anyway, all that to say, it's a little different than Dark Souls and Bloodborne and even Neo in that respect. But if you've played any of those games, or even if you've played The Witcher, or if you've played Ashen, or if you've played just about any game that relies heavily on block and dodge, then yeah, you'll get the hang of this pretty quickly. The tough part is some of these enemies are super tough. So Derek mentioned mini bosses. There's a bunch of these sprinkled throughout the game, and defeating them helps you because you get some key items you need to upgrade stuff.
So that's the other thing about this game. In the Souls, Bloodborne games, you could run through areas and you could skip like optional bosses and stuff, but there are set bosses that you could not skip. These mini bosses, they're not like, well, they're mini bosses. They're not so they're not bosses, but you can skip pretty much all of them. Not every one of them, but a lot of them if you want to. But there's a price to that, and that is if you skip it, you lose the opportunity to get a prayer bead. And prayer beads are the only way, if you collect 4 of them, it's the only way for you to upgrade your health, your vitality.
And your posture too.
Yeah. So they're very, very important. In fact, that was kind of, and again, I was taking forever. But as I was getting through the first part, the tutorial and fighting the first few, scrubs, I was like, oh, this is cool. It feels good. I'm getting used to the controls. Well, you run into a general right away. Well, pretty close to the beginning. And at this point, I don't know you can stealth him. I just run into him, and I'm like, this motherfucker, dude, this guy is ridiculous. And I lost him like 15 times. And I was pissed because, again, I'm just learning the game. And I'm trying to play it like you would play Bloodborne. And against this guy, you cannot play it like you would play Bloodborne. Even Dark Souls, like just holding down the block button. Like on Dark Souls, I always have my shield up and I'm waiting, waiting. They're not hitting me anymore. Now I can swing and then I'll get my strike in. This guy will block everything you throw at him. And so I'm like, I can't hit him. Every one of his hits is basically one-shotting me. I only have one gourd. And then I'm doing a little bit of research online.
Gourd is your healing item, by the way.
Yeah. I'm like,
gourd.
so the only way to get a gourd, because you got to get gourd seals to upgrade your gourd, is to kill him. He's the first one that you get a gourd seed from. So I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I've got to kill this guy. And so I was very, very frustrated until I found out you could stealth him. And I was like, oh, okay. So I stealth him, and he's still alive, and he kills me. I'm like, what? And I didn't pay attention that he has 2 bars.
Yeah.
And so eventually I finally beat him. And when I finally beat him, it was extremely satisfying. And even though I failed like 15 times or whatever the number ended up being, 10, 15 times.
That's the same thing.
That confidence I got from beating him helped me destroy the ogre, who I've seen tons of people are struggling with him still. And then right after you beat the ogre, there's another mini boss. I destroyed him the first time. And so I was like, okay.
Yeah, there's another guy who's kind of like that general, just with a different weapon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, another samurai general. And I'm with you. Like the first one gave me a lot of trouble. Stealthing them down to 50% helps, but still, it's so early in the game. I haven't gotten used to everything yet. I hadn't gotten used to how to dodge and all those kind of things. But yeah, beating him felt really good. And then the ogre killed me like 3 times in a row, so I skipped him for a little while and just did a bunch of other stuff. I killed a couple other mini bosses, and I came back to him. By the way, the ogre, his big thing is grab. So if you're playing this game, just be ready to do a lot of dodging and just keep an eye out for his grabs. Sometimes he'll do a drop kick or something like that, but just keep dodging to the side and then keep swinging at him. If you have your fire attachment, that's really effective against him. If you can get him to start burning, you can get a bunch of hits in doing that. Also, you can stealth him too. So if you
he's a little bit harder to stealth, but you can stealth.
Yeah, so if you kill the 2 guys at the bottom of the hill and then get the ogre's attention enough that he breaks free of his chains, and then go hide, and then he'll stand in the middle of the steps once he kind of loses interest in looking for it. He'll just stand there. And you just have to figure out a way. And what I do is I just go in crouch mode, and he has really bad vision, so he can't see you. Just get in crouch mode, go up along the left side to the left of the stairs, where he seems pretty close, but as long as he doesn't start noticing you, you're fine. And just go around behind him. You can take off 50% of his health right there, and then just get a couple more hits in and some fire, and he's
the
done.
problem people were having with stealthing him is when you walk by him and you go up to the left where there's
a spear guy there. Yeah,
there's another guy there, and he's actually kind of tough to kill. So that was where a lot of people were struggling with that. But if you kill him real fast and then hide behind the wall, he'll forget about you, and he'll do what Tim said. He'll just stand there on the stairs, and then you just walk right back around where the spear guy was, and you just drop down him, and you get to stealth him.
So yeah, so you can either run past the ogre, like get him to come down the steps, run back up the steps, and then you can grapple up and hide up there if you want to. Run up and kill the spear guy, or you can just sneak behind the ogre and hit him. There's a bunch of ways you can approach it, but that's how I recommend it. But anyway, all that to say, I wanted to give that example because this, to me, it strikes me as similar to when Bloodborne came out, and everyone was playing Bloodborne, getting to these different bosses, saying, hey, try this, here's a way to approach this guy. And even though you call them mini bosses, I still feel like From Software is treating them a little bit like the way they treat bosses in other games. They're not quite as epic and tough to kill, most of them at least. I've only beaten one boss that feels like a major boss because it told me that this was a significant enemy, and it gave me a memory that I could use to upgrade I think my damage or something like that. So and then I hit another boss after that feels like an epic major boss, this bull that's on fire that I hate.
Why would you be playing that?
So anyway, all that to say, this is one of those games that if you play it with some community also playing through it, it can be a lot of fun because you're like, hey, here's this tip on this enemy, here's what I did, here's how to stealth them. So I hadn't experienced that with these games yet, except for Ashen, I suppose. So this has been a lot of fun for me too, to join in with conversations that I normally skip. with these games. So I've enjoyed that part of it. Tell me what you think so far about the way it looks, though. So FromSoft games, that Dark Souls 3 had some pretty decent visuals. Not my personal favorite, but I know you liked them. Bloodborne had a really great art style. What do you think about the look of Sekiro?
I think this is the best looking game. I'm playing on for them. I'm playing on Xbox One X. I would say Bloodborne is pretty close, but I think this is a little bit prettier. I would actually, and at some point I will definitely buy it. I'm gonna get this whenever it's cheap on PC because I'd like to see. A lot of y'all don't understand what I'm saying, and I don't mean that in a pretentious way, but when I'm playing on the Xbox One X, it's very nice looking, but it's very cartoony looking. Like the coloring is very cartoony looking. And then when I come over here and I play on my PC and I'm playing at native 4K on a monitor with crystal clear lighting and colors, it looks more realistic. And I saw that with Anthem. It was so clear with Anthem. I was like, Anthem on Xbox One X, cartoony. Over here, looks more realistic. It's very detailed. The lighting's real good. So I'd love to see Sekiro on my PC, but I'm not gonna buy it until it's like super cheap. Like I bought like Dark Souls.
And it will
3.
be. I mean, you'll probably be able to get it for $20 or so.
Yeah.
Here in a little
I'll
while.
wait, and CD Keys or somebody will drop the price like in 6 months, and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna buy it.
Are you having
Especially
any issues with the visuals though, or the performance of the game at all?
I do notice some stuttering, like at least when I was fighting the drunken fatty, drunken poison dude. He's another mini boss.
He feels like a major boss, but yeah, he is. A major boss.
Well, when you first run into him, and I was just overwhelmed by. I was even counting the dudes. I was like, oh my gosh! First, there's like 5 or 6 guys. You can't stealth them all over in one area, and I'm like, so I'm asking myself this as I'm playing. I'm like, well, if I just skip them, because you can skip them, you can run along the roof and run. If I go start fighting over there, fatty, are they gonna get alerted and come over here? Because that's another 5 or 6 guys to the other 8 that he already has over there. He has 6 by him, but there's another 2 in the building to the right of him.
Yep.
And I'm like, that would be like 13, 14 dudes.
That happens if the fight moves into the water too much. It'll get their attention and they'll join in. That happened to me once, and I died pretty quickly. Also, when you first get to that guy, you see him from a distance. They don't see you, so before you talk to your friend to start the fight, you just go to the left. You can stealth the 2 guys in the building because you're right. They very quickly will notice the fight and come out and join, and you can get overwhelmed pretty quickly in that fight.
Which is what I did. I ended up like, I'll just share the strategy on this because a lot of people are probably going to get stuck on that area. It's very hard. But all I did was I skipped the first 5 or 6 guys. I ran across the roof, skipped them because I was like, I'm not taking any damage. I don't want to use any health. I want to make sure I have everything for this guy.
But you killed that first archer, right? The one around the corner? You just killed him real quick? Yeah.
Well, I didn't actually even kill him. I just jumped on the roof and ran away.
Okay.
But you can. And then I basically drop down, like Tim was saying, and run through the water, but I run to the left. So you can see him and all the dudes in the middle, and I run to the far left. I lean up against the wall, and then I just basically lure 2 guys out, and I one-shot them, stealth kill them. Once I do that, I run back through the water, outside of their little vision, and I run all the way to the right side. Here's the key. For me, this is how I did it. Other people have shared other ways where you can actually stealth him. But what I did is I actually ran in, and the first guy I take out, and you can one-shot him real fast if you do it fast, is the guy who shoots like a bow or arrows at you. I wanted to get rid of him because he's annoying when you're trying to fight and he's picking you off.
Yeah, and he's setting you on fire. I hate it.
Yes. Yeah. So I killed him, and I may have killed another one real quick, like 2 of them, and then Fatty gets up and he's like, hey, somebody's here. My original plan was to fight those guys while he was running around and not go talk to. There is a guy there that will help you. And I wasn't going to talk to him. I was going to wait until I had gotten Fatty down 1 bar. Because remember, I'm not stealthing him, which, again, you can actually stealth him, and I didn't know this. I was going to wait until I got him down 1 bar, and then I was going to talk to the guy and have him come in and help me with Fatty.
Doesn't work that way, does it?
No, because the enemies all scatter, Fatty scatters, and they run into him, and then he starts fighting automatically. So you don't even have to talk to him. He just gets alerted and he fights. And that's what ended up happening. But it actually worked out for my good because Fatty's actually not really that hard, especially if you played Bloodborne. And the strategy that I think you should use, and you really don't have to stealth him unless you want to do it, is if you just stay close to him. So you literally lean into him. Like the whole time I'm pushing forward while hitting dodge the whole time. And all you do is you're leaning into him and you're dodging around him. And you just keep focusing on his backside. If you can see his front, try not to swing. You just want to get around his backside because he'll swing at you the whole time. And when he misses, he pauses for a little bit. And that's when you can slice him in the back a couple of times. And then you keep dodging. He won't throw up on you. He won't shoot any poison at you because you're too close. If you back away from him, he will immediately go into his poison. If you need to back away because maybe you got hit and you need to heal because you don't want to heal when you're right next to him.
Yeah, he'll smash it quick.
Exactly. So that's what I did. Anytime I was like, okay, he hit me a couple times and I'm about ready to die, I would back out, heal, dodge any throw up, and then I get right on top of him again, and I would just do the circle. I'm just doing a circle, and it worked to a T. I used like one gourd, maybe two, and I had four.
And you didn't have to be resurrected, huh?
I did not have to be resurrected.
Because by the way, the game does start with one resurrection. So when you die, it does give you one resurrection where you start back with half health. So at least it's again, to me, it's one of the more forgiving games, even though maybe the moment-to-moment fighting is a little tougher, perhaps.
I think the moment-to-moment fighting is way tougher.
Yeah.
But I do think because, like I said, we were talking earlier about there not being any co-op. There are little things that they do, and I was trying to explain this to Rob last night when I was playing Anthem with him. The game is a little bit more forgiving while it's still not forgiving. And what I mean by that is what you were talking about. You can resurrect yourself. So it'll give you once you die, it'll say, do you want to resurrect or do you just want to die? And the reason they give you a choice, because you would think, well, duh, I want to resurrect, is because there is a punishment if you resurrect too much. Like if you die too much and you resurrect too much, you can drop your unseen aid. And your unseen aid is pretty cool. Like right now for me, it's at 30%. And what that means is there's a 30% chance that when I die, nothing is going to be lost. I won't lose any experience and I won't lose any money. If the unseen aid does not hit and I lose my money or my experience, you lose half your money, which is big because a lot of times I have like 1,200 coins. I'm like, oh, crap, I just lost 600 coins. But you'll lose experience. And experience is how you level up, but you're not really leveling up. You're just unlocking skills.
Yep.
So it's how you become more powerful, which these skills are huge. Like they are game changing. Like one of the ways I was able to beat the ogre was when I first started fighting him, I didn't have the whirlwind attack. When I unlocked the whirlwind attack, I was like, oh, well, this is really powerful. And it interferes, like it interrupts a lot of the stuff he wants to do to me.
Yeah, he does these massive lunges. And by the way, if the ogre gets a hold of you, you're pretty much dead.
You're done.
Because he's either going to slam you on the ground and then smash you with his fist. That's one hit kill. Or he's going to pick you up and power slam you and then throw you back behind him, which on more than one occasion, that was off a cliff for me. So yeah, it's brutal. So learning how to counter that stuff. And you brought up the whirlwind. I also wanted to mention you have a prosthetic arm, and this is not a spoiler. It's right on the cover of the game. You can see that he's got a prosthetic arm. Happens very early in the game where you have to get this prosthetic, and then you get these add-ons for it, which is the game's way of giving you additional abilities. Starts the grappling hook, which, by the way, makes the traversal in this game better than any From game I've played. I love the grappling hook traversal stuff. It's awesome. And it also is very useful in combat as well. So you get a grappling hook, but then you also get a loaded shuriken, essentially like a gun that you can shoot these shuriken out of. That only costs you one of these. You start with 15 of these little kind of paper dolls. I forget what they're called, Spirit or something like that. You have 15 of those, and then you can upgrade to another move. It's a flame move. It's kind of like a flamethrower that costs 3 every time you use it. And then there's one that I just now found some really good use for, and that's the firecrackers. There's also an axe that Derek helped me find that helps you get rid of shield-bearing guys. But there's a firecracker one that I highly recommend for bosses that you're having trouble finding a window to attack. I used it against the boss that was on horseback, and it works like a charm. Like you just have to block and dodge his attacks, use your grapple hook to jump in and attack him. But then you can also, right as he's about to go for another run, throw your firecrackers down, and this horse will rear up in the air, and you can get 5 or 6 more hits in before he starts running again. So the firecrackers, really useful. I used them on Fatty as well, the drunk Fatty. That helped me with him too. Again, these kind of things, they give you incredible advantages in the fights, especially in a game like this. It's not like Devil May Cry where you're just hitting some sort of attack nonstop. This is not that kind of game. These kind of games, you really highly value every little window for every little swing you can get. And sometimes you just get one swing and then you back off. And sometimes these boss fights can take forever because of that. In this game, they give you just the right amount of, okay, here's a way to stun them for a little bit longer. Here's a way you can use your abilities to give you a little bit more time to swing. So all that to say, I love the strategy in these battles. It sounds like there's multiple ways you could do it. If you really like running in headstrong and battling people, and if you're great at the parry mechanic, you're going to do great. I mean, you still might die more often, but you also might get through it quicker. If you love stealth, this game does stealth in a way that I don't think any other From game has tried stealth before.
No, they don't. They don't do it like that.
But I like that they do stealth, but it's also not like, not only do you not have to, but they reward you enough that it's like, yeah, I'll stealth this guy, but then I'm going to jump into the battling. I don't feel like it's overwhelmingly stealth heavy personally, and I do love stealth in games, as you know. So let me ask you this then: do you feel like the progression in this game is as satisfying as it has been in other From Software games?
Yes.
I'll say no, and I think that was why I was so frustrated with it in the beginning. Is I liked the system. You know, maybe I'm stuck in my old ways, but this is for most games, not just from software games. I like feeling like if I'm going to kill these enemies over and over and collect experience and loot, like money and all this stuff, I want to be able to buy, like, I want to be able to upgrade my character that way. This game forces you to beat certain difficult enemies, so they don't let you cheese it. So that's my point. It's like they don't let you go, okay, I'm going to beat these 50 scrubs, and then I'm going to go back to a rest area, I'm going to upgrade my character, and I'm going to beat these 50 scrubs again, I'm going to go back to the rest area, and I'm going to upgrade my character. That's what I did in Bloodborne. That's how I got OP. I was just like, I know these patterns, I know how these guys fight, collect as many souls from them or whatever it was in Bloodborne, blood vials, whatever. Go back, upgrade my character. This game doesn't do that. Like, yeah, you can upgrade your skills, but your skills are just things that you use in battle. They're not making your character stronger, faster, and they're not making your character live longer with better health or anything like that, or posture. That comes from beating certain characters or certain bosses or exploring the world. Just like I was telling people in my posts after I beat Drunken Fatty, if you go into the building that's blocked from going into until you beat him, there's like a secret like door that you can go around in, and then there's a chest in there, and sure enough, there was a prayer bead in there. Those prayer beads are very, very important. Like, you want to get as many as you can, because every 4, and we talked about this earlier, they upgrade your vitality and your posture. And that is not something I'm upgrading a lot. I've only upgraded once, and I have 3 prayer beads right now. So I need to get one more, which if I can beat this blazing bull, I will get my 4th one, and then I'll be able to upgrade.
That's
again.
funny. We're both stuck on that same spot, that friggin' bull.
Yeah. Well, I've only actually... I haven't even really fought him. Like, I just walked in. In fact, it's funny.
Dude, I did the same thing. I was like, I should run back and save, but you know what? I want to see you through this door first. Bad idea. It triggers this boss fight you cannot escape from. And I was like, well, all right. I guess.
Yeah, I was slowly walking into the area, and I was actually looking around. I'm like, how do I stealth these guys? Because there's a few enemies in front of you, and I'm like, I can't jump up these walls. There's no grass. How do I stealth them? And then I walk in, and then it cuts to the bull running through, and the bull kills them. And then I'm like, It's a boss fight.
Yeah.
No wonder I can't stealth them and there's no options.
Yeah, and
I
his
didn't even try
horns
to
are made
fight
out of
boss guys.
it's like this gigantic beam that's on fire. That's his horns basically, and he fills the screen. He's just destroying everything. But yeah, you're right. Going exploring for some of those prayer beads and the gourd seeds. Those are the ways to upgrade the most important things: your health and your posture with the prayer beads. And then if you find those gourd seeds, you give them to this lady at your first temple, and she'll give you more uses out of your health gourd, which is essentially you take a swig and it revives a certain amount of health for you. You do also get a chance to upgrade the prosthetic. Not only can you add new tools and abilities to it, whether it's an axe that's really strong against shields or shuriken or fire or whatever, but you also get a chance to upgrade each of those things. So there's a whole upgrade tree once you have this guy install this metal piping thing. I forget what it's called. But there's additional things to upgrade, which then there's all sorts of materials in the world, gunpowder and scrap metal, I think, a few other things. And then money. So using the money that you find, you use that to actually upgrade those prosthetic add-ons. The thing is, though, when you die, you lose half of your progress on your skills bar, which you use to unlock things like Derek talked about, the whirlwind skill, and you lose half of your money. So you have to be really careful about when is it worth sacrificing it, when is it not. They have, similar to what they have in other games like this, but more recently in Ashen, I loved the way that all the vendors allowed you to purchase these money bags, essentially. So if you've got 1,000 coins and you're afraid of losing all of that, then you buy this money bag and it'll store a bunch of it in these bags that can't be lost when you die. So similarly here, you can buy these money pouches at the vendors. So that is helpful. That's one way to kind of keep your money safe as you take some risks with dying. And same thing with skills. Just don't let your skill points just sit there and accumulate and don't ever use them. Make sure you go and use them, because you might die and lose some of that stuff. So yeah, all that to say, Derek's right. It's not really the kind of game that you go and you cheese 5 or 6 of the same enemies over and over and over again. Now you can do that, and you can get some skills that way. You might even be able to unlock a whole bunch of skills. But those aren't necessarily going to be the key to defeating whatever boss you're struggling with. They might help you, but most of that is just a matter of figuring out their patterns, figuring out their weaknesses. You probably already have the tools at your disposal to beat them. You just have to figure out how to use them, or figure out a strategy like Derek talked about with Fatty McDrunk Poison or whatever his name is.
And I think this game is so difficult that, use YouTube, use guides. I think sometimes strategies aren't obvious when you first walk in. Like, I know for some of them, I've been like, I don't know. Like, for example, Tim and I were talking, and he was talking about how he's stuck on the drunk poison dude, and I hadn't even ran into him. And so he told me where he was at, and I was like, oh, okay, I just haven't gotten there. And then I ran into him like a little bit later. I ran over in that area, and I was like, what the crap? Like, the first time I walked over there, I was like, I felt anxiety, because I was like, there's no way I'm going to beat 8 guys and then beat this fat guy. Because the first time I fought him, I was like, was overwhelmed. I was like, he's poisoning me. His hits take most of my life bar. Like, basically 2 hits kill me.
He's got this giant sword, and if he hits you with that, you're mostly dead. He can also spit poison all over his sword, so if he hits you with that, you're going to be mostly dead. And if he happens to catch you with one of his giant stomps or one of his E-Honda slaps, he does like a E-Honda from Street Fighter style attack with the palm of his hand. If he hits you with most of those, again, most of your health is going to go away. So, and not only that, you're trying to dodge arrows. You got guys with shields coming at you from every side. You have these guys with torches and swords running at you. Yes, anxiety is a good way to describe it. It is.
Yeah.
And especially if you spend all the time working your way there, taking out every enemy, making sure you're clear. Everywhere behind your back is clear for this fight. And you get to them, and then you make 1 or 2 wrong moves, and you're dead. And you guys start over again. That is some of the most frustrating stuff. And yet, when you finally get that killing blow on these enemies that are tough to beat, that's what makes these games so satisfying, in my opinion. That's the magic of a Dark Souls style game, is that satisfaction of finally defeating that area or that boss that was so tough before. So
it's that satisfaction, and it just plays well. It's just fun to play.
The combat's so fun, yeah.
Yeah. And that's for all their games. Bloodborne, Dark Souls, of course, there's some are better than others. I would say I enjoy Bloodborne's combat more.
Well, it's more varied as well, right? I mean, Bloodborne, you got a lot more you can do, different weapon types, things like that.
But I like it because it plays for aggressive players. That's my style. Like, it's just there's no going in and going, okay, let me assess the situation and how can I stealth this guy? Yes, there are times where you're like, okay, I need to lure this guy away from these three. So how do I do that? But it's never built off stealth. You don't have a shield to protect you. It's all about being quick, reflexes, and just real aggressive. Sekiro, there's times where you have to be aggressive. Then there's times where you have to use stealth. And then there's times where you have to be a little bit more cautious. Like, there's so far most of the enemies have been pretty varied. Like, even the mini bosses, at first I was like getting in a pattern. I was like, I can beat this guy and beat this guy, the samurais basically. But once I got to the drunken dude, his patterns are way different than the samurais. You cannot do what I did against the drunken dude against the samurais and it work. It's not going to work. If you sit there and just try to dodge and stay close to them, they'll just kill you in like 2
you have
seconds.
to keep your distance from them and then jump into attack and then keep your distance.
Yeah, same thing with the ogre. Like, if you try to stay close to him, he's just going to pick you up and kill you.
Yeah.
So, and then again, going back to the drunken fat guy, if you stay far away from him, he's going to kill you. You can stay really far away from him, but you're never going to get a hit on him. But if you try to stay like medium distance, he'll kill you.
Yeah, if you try the thing where you stay within striking distance but back off, he's going to get you with that poison, and that stuff will kill you real fast. Yep.
So each one has different strategies, and once you figure it out, even once you figure out a strategy, you're not guaranteed to beat it. So I can sit here and watch a video, or somebody can tell me on Facebook, hey, try this. And I'll go, oh, yeah, that sounds good. Like, that will probably work. Well, doesn't mean it'll work for me because I probably will screw it up somewhat.
Right. Well, and also for those of you who like exploration and kind of big built-out worlds, I think this does a good job of having some open areas. There's lots to explore. There's places where you can grapple to that if you look for it, all of a sudden you find it. There's a couple areas where you go down deep into these canyons, and there's quite an encounter with a massive white snake, which is creepy. Scared the crap out of me when I first encountered. Did you see that thing yet? The white snake?
Yeah, I've already passed through the first part.
Yeah, that was awesome. So things like that are really nice surprises that are really cool to experience. And I'm sure there's a lot more. I actually don't know how far into the game I am. We're at about the same spot, you and I.
I don't think we're far, though, because we've only actually technically beat one real boss.
One boss that gives you a quote-unquote memory, right? So, yeah, all the ones that feel like that Derek's calling mini bosses, I would say at least half of them felt like full-fledged boss fights at one time or another. So I find this game to be incredibly satisfying, a ton of fun to play. It's got a lot of fun stealth elements, a lot of fun combat elements, some decent upgrades. I'm with you. I think I liked the Bloodborne upgrades a little bit more, but that's not really what the game's all about. The game is really truly all about getting better as you go along. Mm-hmm. And I actually really like the setting, lore, and the kind of the character setup much better than I did Bloodborne. Like, Bloodborne was fine, but that kind of dystopian, what's that called? Kind of that werewolf in old London style. I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite. I love this feudal Japan setting. I think it's really, really cool. So really digging this game quite a bit. It has totally taken me away from Division 2 and Devil May Cry 5. I am 2 missions away from completing Devil May Cry 5, so I'm hoping to wrap that up. I've got a couple days off this week while the kids are off for spring break, so I'm hoping to finish that up. But really, most of my time's been focused in on this one. I'm assuming that's the same for you, right? You haven't really played much else? Maybe some Anthem here and there?
I played Anthem last night, but I've been playing the Division 2. And I'm getting towards the end of Devil May Cry 5. I'm on mission 16.
Yep.
I was actually going to try to play it today and beat it so I can talk about it on the show, but I only played a little bit of video games today, and that was in Sekiro.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with Sekiro. Like, Devil May Cry 5, I know I'm going to beat it. I really don't know. I'm not just saying this. I have no clue if I'm going to be able to beat Sekiro. So it's on my mind all the time because I'm like, Like for instance, the drunken boss. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get stuck on this guy, and so I was getting anxious about it, and so I was only thinking about that guy, and so I was like, I gotta try. So that's what gets me to play, and I'll. Like right now, as we've been talking, the whole time we've been talking, I've been reading about the bull because I'm like, I need to figure out. I haven't really fought him. Like I said, all I did was walk in the area, got caught off guard, I let him kill me, and I didn't even resurrect. I was like, no, I'm just gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah. If you figure it out, let me know because that's one that I want to figure out as well. So I do want to, before we close things out, I do want to make sure that we acknowledge probably the biggest news in the gaming industry.
And by the way, we're not even close to the end of the game. I don't know if you want me to spoil it, but there's. You want me to tell you how many main bosses there are?
No.
Okay.
Are you? What percentage would you say we are through it? Like 20%, 50%,
like 7%.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
7?
Okay. No. It would be 8%.
Oh my. Oh my gosh!
So you can do the math right there.
So there's a lot more bosses to be had.
That's just the regular boss.
See, honestly, right now that's pretty exciting for me because I don't have a whole lot else on the horizon. This is the only game I want to play right now, so I'm totally fine with that. Other than finishing up Devil May Cry, maybe running a few more missions in Division 2, it's all about Sekiro for me right now. So
and then I think we have fought at least probably 5 or 6 mini bosses, and there's like over 25 of them.
Oh, great. Cool. So we have a little ways to go. Totally fine. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, so again, I don't know if I'll beat it. The goal is to beat it, but this is a game where I think this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Agreed.
Like, that's kind of what happened with Bloodborne and Dark Souls. Like, I just was like, okay. People are going to talk about it in the beginning. You're going to see them fade. There's going to be people that are like, okay, I can't beat this game.
Yeah.
And they're going to fade. But hopefully there will still be a core group of like 3 to 5 of us that are consistently moving at kind of the same pace and getting further and helping each other. And just keeping it active, like keeping talking about it encourages me to play more.
For sure. Yeah.
If I see somebody posting like, hey, I just beat the Blazing Bull, I'm like, well, I want to beat the Blazing Bull. You know,
that sounds like it'd be a good stripper name for you, the Blazing Bull.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah, that's not bad. Not bad.
I need a job soon.
So the biggest news in the gaming industry that we've had in a long time is that Google is diving in head first. We mentioned this briefly last week with Dan Phillips on the show, and so Google's got a new platform coming out called Google Stadia. So like I guess multiple Stadia. I guess it is completely hardware free in terms of what you, the consumer, have in your house. Any hardware is at their data centers, and you're connecting through their network. And you can go and look up all the different details from this. But I just wanted to get, Derek, your initial response to the idea of, and they're not the first ones here, by the way. There's a few other companies that have gone here, but it just feels like Google is the first kind of respectable player to enter the game. That's like, I wonder if they'll actually be able to pull something off here. They talked a big game. I mean, they used all the 4K, 60 frames per second type language people want to hear. They talked a lot about having no load times. You don't ever have to install anything. They mentioned it's coming out this year. They gave us no price. So we don't know if it's going to be a subscribe once, get access to everything. Is it a low subscription price, but you have to buy every game? Are there some games that are free and some like they didn't break down the structure for pricing at all, so we don't know. But what's your initial reaction to that? Is this something that you, at least your gut reaction, interested or?
Oh, I'm interested in seeing what it is. I want to see if it's going to work, and if it's going to work, then yeah, I would probably invest in it. But we'll see. I mean, I have a powerful PC, and if it's basically eliminating people getting a powerful PC and stuff like that, that's going to save me a lot of money in the future. If not, then I'll stick to my PC and I'll just keep upgrading it.
I think it's all about your internet connection. So they say that you need a 25 megabyte per second download speed to get 1080 30 frames. That's what they're saying. So, which is, I think they use 25 because that's fairly standard for most internet service plans these days for most providers. But if you have a much stronger connection, if you happen to be closer to one of the Google data centers, I do believe they're saying you have a higher likelihood of being able to get up to that 4K range and things like that. You could run this stuff. Like, one of the things I liked about the presentation is they went out and they bought one of the cheapest computers at a local store they could to run Stadia on it, because your computer simply just has to have internet connection and a screen on it. Like, that's pretty much all it has to have. So the concept of being able to play this on any device, I like their controller. Nothing new, okay? It's nothing groundbreaking. Their controller looks like a lot of the controllers you see. But what's cool about it is, this is the only thing I'll say about it, and then we'll wait till we hear more news on it. But what to me seems most promising about this thing is, when I think of online streamed games, I think, well, when I hit a button, there's always going to be lag, that latency between my button press and the action. That's why I like consoles, right? It's instant. So what they're saying with the Google controller, the Stadia controller, is that this controller does not connect to any console in your home. It actually connects directly through your Wi-Fi to Google. So when you hit that button, the response is way more responsive. It's not waiting for the connection to go through whatever device you happen to be using. So while you can use whatever controller you want, I have a feeling that using the Stadia controller might be the way to go to get the best timing and things like that for these games. I mean, for any kind of first-person shooter, or for a game like we're playing right now, Sekiro, for these kind of timing is everything games, it's going to be pretty important that Google figures out how to deliver this without having those latencies. If you're playing a turn-based strategy game or something like that, not as important, not as important to be extremely accurate with that latency. So anyway, I'm curious to see if they can deliver. I'm hopeful that they'll have some sort of trial. That way, most of us can give it a try and see if our connections allow for it to work. But I am not opposed to starting to dip my toes into the gaming streaming world, because I do think we'll eventually have no consoles by our TVs. I think it's all going to be internet driven, and I'm okay with that. Less download time, that's fine, as long as I can keep playing awesome games. It's kind of all I care about.
I mean, I think for me, the only thing that I get sad over, I'm sure I'll get over it, or they'll have some way of fixing it. I like owning stuff. Like, I like to buy the games. I like to own it. That's why a lot of times I'll offer, if it's a game that I want you to play, I'll be like, hey, just give me $20. I'll pay the 40. I'll own it. You get to play it.
Right.
I just like to own stuff. So I don't like the subscription type stuff where it's like,
Yep.
Hey, it's $15 a month. You own nothing. You can
Right.
just play whatever's in our library. That's why I don't care about EA Access. I don't care about Game Pass. Like, most of the games in Game Pass, I won't touch it unless I own it. It's
Right.
like I like to invest my money in it, and then that gives me a reason to invest my time.
So what if Google does similar to, you ever use the Movies Anywhere app, where if you buy a movie, you then get the digital code, and then if you sync it up with all your accounts, Amazon, Microsoft, whatever else, you can now watch that anywhere, because you technically own, I'll put that in quotes, you own a digital version of it. Would that be something you're interested in? Because at least you can own a digital version on some kind of Google account somewhere.
Yeah, I would like that. I think that would be great if, like, all my PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, every game, like, showed up in one app and was like, hey, you can sit here and switch from Mario Kart 8 to Sekiro
Now that's a future I'm on board with right there. That sounds fantastic.
without having to plug in a device or switch controllers or anything like that.
Yep. So it remains to be seen what they actually announce, what the pricing is, but we will, of course, talk more about it when Google does, which is probably, I think they said this summer, they're giving out more details. I would guess around E3 we'll learn some more. So, all right, well, I got to get over and help with some kiddo bedtime, and then after that play a little more Sekiro probably, because talking about it makes me want to go try this bullfight again.
Yeah.
So
I will just say, let's end it on this. If you're on the fence about Sekiro, I'm going to say buy it, but there is going to be an asterisk, and that is only if you're okay with being destroyed. Like, you have to have patience. If you don't think you're going to have the patience, and here's the thing, I see a ton of people online saying, this is not for me, this is not for me. It actually is for you. You're just choosing for it to not be for you. And you go, well, how do you know my personality? Anybody who gives this game a chance and actually has patience and tries, they always fall in love with it. I've never heard somebody give it an honest try, doing it on their own, succeeding on their own, and going, oh, I beat these first 3 bosses. This is so boring. Nobody does that. Everybody beats the bosses and they're like,
Yep.
holy crap, I did it.
That's what happens with that's these Souls games, man. That's what they do to people.
So the people that say it's
Yeah.
not for them, it's because they have a fear of failure and they won't even try. You're a loser. You're a freaking loser. That's my trump. You're a loser.
Well, what I would tell folks is try to get past the feeling of every time I die, I feel like I wasted time. The reality is you didn't. You learned a little bit something more about that fight or that boss or how to do your abilities. Even though it doesn't feel like, well, my experience went away. That's annoying. The money I earned disappeared. I hear you. That is frustrating. But just know that unlike, like I'm playing Wargroove right now, and if you make one wrong move in Wargroove and lose that match, you have to start from the very beginning, which can be sometimes 60, 90-minute battle. Super annoying. That to me feels like completely wasted time. With these Souls-like games, and Sekiro specifically right now, I don't think that's wasted time. I think you're getting, it's like baby steps closer to figuring out the best way to approach this battle. So I highly recommend it for just about anyone who likes video games. More recently, if you've played anything from The Witcher 3 to God of War, if you've played any of these types of games and you like them, I suggest taking the next step with the Souls-like game. Go with Sekiro, man. It's really, really good. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
All right. That does it for this week. Derek, thanks for talking Sekiro. You enjoy your week. I'm going to be staying at home for a few days with spring break, so
I'll be home tomorrow if you want a game on the Vision 2. I'll be there.
All right, man. Have a good night. Thank you guys for listening. See ya.
Bye.
Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things here.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?